Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Happy Monday. We've got a new week here, Keith. December is almost here. We're going to hit it this week. That is exciting because that means we're getting that much closer to Christmas. We've got a lot of NBA basketball to talk about today, too. But first, Keith, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I know we had our live show, but this is our first recorded official show here. You have a good Thanksgiving with the family?
It was good, man. The holiday itself was good, and then the days after were pretty good too. It was, a lot of basketball on throughout the course of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Had a big in-season tournament day on Friday, and it was just all around a pretty good weekend. And now we're back to school and all that stuff. We're right back into the mix with everything, and it's funny how short of amount of time it takes to be out of the routine to be like, oh man, I gotta get back in the flow here. And that's exactly where we're at. The big question though, before we get into any basketball stuff, did you finish the pumpkin pie?
I didn't. I got like, I want to say like 2/3 of the way through it, which is I think an impressive accomplishment in its own right.
Sure.
But it got to the point where I had to start questioning whether or not it was still good.
Yeah.
Like, is this still safe to eat? And so when I got to that point, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to toss it.
Yeah. It starts to get a little bit more of a jello texture almost.
Yes.
And so a little shady. Yeah. That's for the best. So otherwise you probably wouldn't be here recording today. You'd probably,
right. Exactly.
Dealing with some stomach issues. So yeah. Unfortunately, we'll tie that into a nice segue of injury and illness because holy crap, do we have a lot of that to cover today. It feels like Thanksgiving happened and everybody then went down with injuries across the NBA.
'Tis the season. It must be all the tryptophan, Keith. I guess that must be it. That must be it. See, it doesn't actually make you tired. It just makes you injured.
Injury prone. That's it. The muscles get some latency in there and some struggles.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to mix it up a little bit because we do have a lot of injuries to get through. So we do have a couple of non-injury stories. In fact, one of them is a trade one, but I'm going to save those till midway through so we can kind of break up all the injuries a little bit. So let's start here for today. Drew Smith, the ACL injury, kind of weird. Like there were people who saying, I was getting people messaging me saying, is there a hole in the Cavs floor? Was it covered by paper? What is going on in Cleveland? It was indeed strange looking seeing when he landed when he stepped near the sideline there in Cleveland.
Yeah. So what happened for anybody who didn't see this, and if anybody's like, who is Drew Smith? He's a two-way player for the Miami Heat. This injury too, it's described as a third-degree ACL sprain, which both Trevor and I were like, I don't really know what that means, but the Heat also said he's out for the entire season. So I'm guessing it's like maybe akin to a torn ACL, but maybe not as bad. I don't know. I'm going to make it a to-do for me later today to go look up, like, what is that? But what happened when the Heat played at the Cavs court is raised off the floor. Now, all courts are raised slightly, but most are like a half step or a step up. The Cavs court is several inches above the floor. I don't know how many, but I know it's raised. And basically, Drew Smith, I don't know if he was either contesting a shot or going for a loose ball, but he landed on the very back side, like basically went through the bench area. Landed on the back side of it. And yes, he did step on a piece of paper, but the piece of paper was not covering a hole. It was just the piece of paper was on the edge of the court. And so it looked like he went through the paper and like onto like right straight down.
Yeah.
It was pretty ugly looking. LeBron commented on it because the Lakers were in there like the next game, I think it was, or something like that. And he's like, yeah, he goes, but we've never, I played a lot of games here. I've never seen anything like that. But a lot of guys commented that there are a lot of players came out and were like, yeah, that should probably be looked at. Like, this is not great. And, X, Y, and Z. So what sucks is this is a two-way guy who's like fighting to stay in the league and earn his playing time and all that. And that's the part that's crappy is that, now he's down. But we just wanted to touch on it because it is such a kind of unique, odd situation with the way this happened.
So, Keith, the internet is telling me that grade 3 is a complete rupture of a muscle or a tendon.
All right.
So why not just call it a tear?
Yeah, I mean, any sprain is technically a tear.
Right, there's tearing that takes place. It's just varying degrees. Okay.
Exactly.
Anyway, look at us. We're getting closer and closer to becoming doctors right here live in front of everybody. Well, recorded in front of everybody here.
We'll do this. We'll let you become the doctor, and I'll continue down the CBA path. I'll become the lawyer, and our parents will finally be proud of us.
There we go. That's what we'll do. And then we'll just change the name of the show. We'll tweak it a little bit. We'll find some fun pun, and it'll be a good time. All right, let's get to my Lakers, the ever injured Lakers. Rui Hachimura, fractured nose, and he is out for their current road trip, which means he should get reevaluated, I believe, this coming Friday when they return from a 4-game road trip. But he's going to miss at least the next 3 games now due to this fractured nose that he suffered against the Mavs. Did not play in the Lakers' last game. And he's a guy who's already missed time with a concussion. So head injuries and Rui Hachimura not going together very well this season.
Yeah, definitely not great to, like you said, that second kind of head injury there. So sounds like this one, no concussion involved, which is that is a good sign, because start to have the multiple concussions, that gets, worrisome.
Yeah,
where that is. It's tough because, as we've talked about before, the Lakers' depth is hurting a little bit, and they're kind of hurting at the forward spot, especially. I mean, I know Christian Wood plays the 4-ish some and those kind of things, but we're more talking the perimeter based forward. So it's kind of LeBron and Taurean Prince, and that's really it for guys you trust at the moment. At those forwards positions. So that's been a little rough. I guess the only other takeaway I have is too bad he doesn't play for the Bucks, because there's like a Rui the broken nose reindeer that we could have worked in there somewhere. But it's I guess not a thing.
How did you go to that?
I don't know. I saw it. You said
that's called Monday.
Yeah, that's it. That's not good. We're leaving it in because we don't cut out the nonsense.
We're not going to go back and cut that out. Look, Rui is one of several Lakers that are out right now. You've got Jared Vanderbilt, who's still dealing with left heel bursitis. He should be back any day now, we think. Cam Reddish strained groin as well. So the Lakers, I thought they added a lot of wing depth over the summer and at last year's trade deadline, but they've really needed it because so many of the wings have actually been hurt. So, all right, let's go. Let's jump from my team to your team. Kristaps Porzingis has a calf strain. This was, the big concern about Porzingis coming into the season was, can he stay healthy? Fortunately, this is not a long-term injury, but always a guy to keep an eye on when it comes to injury news, especially just being a big, the way that he's going to move out on the floor. He's going to be prone to picking up injuries, and this is one that's going to keep him out for, what is it, a week, I think, on this one?
Yeah, so what the Celtics basically said is they left it a little vague. Like this was ahead of their game on Sunday. Joe Mazzulla said he'll be reevaluated in a week or so. All right, I think he actually will take another look at it in a week or so. So we'll see what it looks like. I would assume he's definitely out. They have their final in-season tournament game tomorrow night against the Chicago Bulls. And we will cover a bunch of the stuff with the in-season tournament, but we're going to cover that Tuesday and Wednesday. So the day of the final night of group play, and then Wednesday we'll cover all the fallout and matchups and all that stuff. But with Porzingis, this was a little worrisome. This happened in the Orlando game on Friday afternoon. They played at 2:30. He had kind of turned to run up the floor, and the camera is following the ball, and he was behind the ball, and then all of a sudden it was, Kristaps Porzingis is limping, and he did like that kind of look behind him as he started to limp, and you almost felt like, oh no, it feels like Achilles, did it go?
When people look like, did somebody kick me or something?
That's exactly it. Every player that I've ever heard tear an Achilles says it feels like somebody kicked me in the back of the leg. With that, and thankfully it was not that. They put him. He had an MRI done. He actually tweeted on, or not tweeted. He put it on Instagram, like, got good news. I'll be back soon. So that kind of put everybody at ease, and then the team. Drew Mazzulla and then themselves released, he's got a calf strain and should be back in roughly a week or so. And this is important. The Celtics, their top 6 is really, really good. I would say their 7-8 is fine. But after that, it gets pretty shaky, because when you make the trades they did, which included multiple, trades where they sent more guys out than they got back, you sacrifice your depth. And that was a big part of the team, was they had really good depth. for the last several years. This year, the depth is a lot more shaky. So when any one guy is out, it's a little rougher. And they don't have Jrue Holiday right now. He's also out with a sprained ankle. He should be back. I'm thinking he might play tomorrow. It sounds like he's really close. So we'll see. But yeah, down 2 starters when your depth's a little shaky. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, definitely not ideal. All right, let's get into one of the, I guess, non-injury stories here. The Heat are rumored to not be interested in a Zach Lavine trade. You know, there was a list of teams that came out that included the Lakers, the 76ers, the Heat, that Zach Lavine could be interested in playing for should he hop onto the trade market and the Bulls decide to move on from him. Remember, we're keeping an eye on, people have asked me, Keith, by the way, aren't there other players that are going to be on the market besides just Bulls guys? Yes, but it's so early in the season. Sure. We don't know. Those teams don't know who's going to be sellers at the trade deadline just yet. Just the Bulls are an early team that's been identified as a potential seller. So Zach Lavine, apparently he doesn't have an official list, but what's been made known is that he's got a few teams that he would like to be traded to. Well, Miami says, well, you may be interested in coming here, but we're not that interested in you. They are a team that does not want Zach Lavine. So Miami is that team that everybody's looking at because they didn't get Dame. So, okay, are they going to take some of their pieces and then go chase after the next guy? Apparently, Zach Lavine doesn't fit the mold of what they see as the next guy, the player they want to go after.
Yeah, and this came from Barry Jackson, who covers the Heat and has for a long time for the Miami Herald. And one of the things he said, their lack of interest is because they see Lavine as a more expensive duplication of what they get from Tyler Hero.
Yep.
Lavine's probably a better version of Hero. I don't know that he is a 1/3 again as much paid better version of Hero. Right. With that, he also, yes, Hero's had several injuries. He's dealing with another one right now, but Lavine has also had some knee problems, which that always gets a little scary, especially for players that are into their 30s. So I kind of get it from Miami's standpoint of, hey, unless we're moving Hero in the deal, why this is not the guy that it makes sense for us to kind of cash in the last of our tradable assets to go get. So I kind of get it from that standpoint. Now, what I do wonder is, let's say Hero, this injury drags out, or that injury becomes worse, or another one pops up closer to the trade deadline, then and Lavine's still on the Bulls, then is Miami like, we don't really want to punt on another good year of Jimmy Butler and another year where we could be contenders. Maybe we should make the move then. So, right. But I'm gonna take this as for now they're not interested, but it does make sense to me why the Heat might say, just not the right guy for us.
Yeah, there's diminishing returns, right? When you're adding pieces to your team, if you're adding pieces that you already kind of have, you're not going to improve your team that much. Like if Miami looks and they say, what we really need is a high caliber point guard. That's something we don't have. That's going to push us to the next level. And an opportunity comes up to get Damian Lillard or whoever the next, big point guard out there on the market shows up. You can say, okay, well, we don't have this right now. This would make us monumentally better. This would be a massive improvement for us. Whereas if it's something that you already kind of have, like you said, maybe Tyler Hero is like 80%, 75% or whatever, maybe even a little bit more. Sure. I don't know. But of Zach Lavine, well, we already kind of have that. We get a guy that's maybe slightly better. How much does that really improve our overall team? It's a fair thing to consider here for Miami. And particularly, look, we've been talking about this a lot on the Lakers side, but with Zach Lavine, if you're going to take him, you're going to trade for him, and you're going to trade for this contract, which has 4 years left, $40 million this year, and then it only goes up from there. You've got to be convinced that he is the guy. He's the guy that's going to put you over the top if you're going to have this contract on your books. And that is something where I could see Miami say, you know what, we've got this factor plus the contract. Yeah, let's hold off and let's see what else comes along.
Yeah, completely agree. You said it all there. So the challenge comes to, if you're not trading Hero, you got to trade Kyle Lowry. Yes, you could get by with Lavine and Hero as your backcourt. You'd presumably still have Josh Richardson. So you'd be fine. But now you're talking about playing a bunch of guys together, none of which are really point guards. You're putting a lot on Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo to defend if you're playing Lavine and Hero together, because neither one of them is they're not absolutely horrible defenders, but they're not good defenders. So if you're going against a team with a bunch of perimeter weapons, you're going to struggle a little bit there. So like I said, I get it why Miami might say, yeah, just not the guy for us. Like this one doesn't make sense. Even if like I semi-jokingly, but with some seriousness said, they've basically turned into Lakers East, where it's any star who becomes available, they're going to be linked to them, just because that's kind of how it works now for those two franchises, because they're a place a lot of guys want to go, and they're teams that tend to get involved with star players. So, but if Miami's exercising some caution right now, it makes a lot of sense.
Keith, something that was that came up the other day on one of our live shows was people were talking about free agency or trades and things like that. And how much, if you were an NBA player, how much would weather matter to you? Like now that we're getting into the colder months of the year, how much would weather be a factor in your decision?
If I was an NBA player, it'd be probably like third, fourth thing on my list. Like first would be, am I going to get paid? Right.
Right.
Because that's,
and can you win? Right.
And can we win? And then,
But then,
yeah, I mean, it's not a bad tiebreaker, and you see a lot of guys, they really do. It's, and I'll say, if not weather, let's just say location.
Sure.
Because guys still want to play. I get it. The Knicks have missed out on 900 million major free agents over the seemingly last 2 decades. But guys still want to play in New York. Like, I don't know if you saw Devin Booker made the game winner. And like all he could talk about was like how cool it was. Like, I'm part of history now.
To do it in New York,
in Madison Square Garden. Like it's that big of a deal. So yeah, but yeah, weather matters. We hear the tax thing a lot. I've never really heard a player talk about that. That's something that gets brought up more by other people. But yeah, I mean, it does matter. I think if the chances, hey, spend my time in somewhere nice and warm and everything else is equal, yes, let me do that, please. Like it just kind of makes sense. For me personally, I don't know. I mean, I grew up in just south of Boston, so I'm pretty used to miserable winters. Although I have been in Orlando for 20 years with a little bit of time in Southern California, so it might be more of a factor than I think it might be.
Keith, see, I grew up in Southern California. I've never lived in a place where like it snows for months or anything like that, where there's just snow on the ground for months. Never done that. And I was at my sister's last year for Christmas, and she's in Kansas City. And they got a big snowstorm that came through, and it was at one point it was like -10 or whatever, and I just instantly, and I'd never experienced that before, and I just knew instantly. Like I'd stepped out in it once. I tried to turn on my car was like complaining, and I just went, "Nope, this is not for me. This is not for me."
And like you said, now imagine that when you're especially in like the Northeast, that's like Christmas through like mid-March. Like, and it's just gray, and you're like, I think the sun's up there somewhere. Like, it's just, and there's just slush, and it's all that gray, slushy grossness. Yeah, it's that part I don't miss. I miss every year that first snow. Like, I do miss snow, but then I'm like, I'll go visit the snow when I want to see snow. Like, I don't need to live in it all the time. So I guess I'm talking myself into whether would be a factor.
It would be a factor. Okay. All right, just curious, kids. You grew up in a much snowier, colder place than I did, so I was curious if if weather would be a big, because it would be for me. And but good to hear that I'm not too crazy. But it's not my weak Southern California disposition from being blessed with sunshine that will be thinking about the weather. All right, let's jump over to the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball, right ankle strain for him. That's big trouble for a Charlotte team that already is not good. I don't know, Keith, about Charlotte.
Yeah.
This is getting rough.
The only positive here is they got Terry Rozier back yesterday. So they're kind of in that this happens sometimes with teams that are like snake bit with injuries. It feels like you get a guy back, you lose another guy, and you just can't keep guys on the floor. So at least they're covered a little bit with the ball handler, with Rozier back in the lineup. The worry with LaMelo Ball is this is his right ankle. This is the one he broke last year, and it cost him the end of last season. And if we remember too, he was a little delayed at the start of training camp. too, because now that was probably mostly out of an abundance of caution, but there was a little bit of that with him as well. So we've got a little bit of worry there. He also had multiple left ankle sprains last year, so you got to start. Do we have a Steph Curry thing going on here? And what does that mean? But it's hopefully this doesn't turn out to be bad. The thing I'm worried about is he went down. It was basically he drove, he made a shot, he collided with Paolo Banchero. Nothing dirty on the play. He just landed very awkwardly, and then he couldn't put any weight on it coming off the floor. They had to help him off the floor. So that's the part that's super concerning. But hopefully they're calling it a strain, which was also raised eyebrows. People are like, a right ankle strain. So maybe it is something more than just the typical sprained ankle, but we'll see. So I'm hopeful this is a short-term thing because you're right. They need him. That team is they're a little rough, and they've also got to be looking at it like, man, like we haven't had this full roster yet. Like we would like to have everybody together and really get a sense of what we have before we start making any decisions about down the line and who fits and who doesn't fit.
Yeah, they are 5-10 on the season. They're sitting right now in 12th in the Eastern Conference, and they have one of the worst point differentials in the league right now. Again, this is a season for Charlotte that's about figuring out what pieces fit and what don't, and you need LaMelo Ball out there in order to figure that out because he's obviously a big part of their future.
Yeah, he's like your number one connective piece, right? Because it's really, if guys don't fit with him, it doesn't matter how much they fit with anybody else on the roster because he's your guy. That's your franchise guy you're building around.
All right, let's get to this one. Josh Giddey, we talked a little bit about this situation on Friday's show. Nothing really new to add to what we said before. There's nothing that will be responsible to jump to conclusions on. The NBA is investigating the situation. I know people are well aware of what's going on there, and everybody wants to know stuff and everything, but there's nothing concrete from what I've seen out there, and the NBA is investigating. They'll figure it out from there. But for the time being, he is available to play.
Yeah, and that's basically where Mark Daignault, the Oklahoma City Thunder head coach, left it. Is we haven't been told he can't play, so he's available and he's going to play. And he played in their game over the weekend, and that's kind of it. So we'll see. I think they are playing tonight. Maybe let me check that to see. They are not. They play next tomorrow night. So we'll see. What that looks like. If he's really going to be in there or not. So we'll find out. My guess is the NBA is doing what they can to investigate this. What's probably making this a little hard, because I've seen some people like, isn't it as easy as, did you do this or not? But Josh Giddey's probably like, hey, this was an anonymous Twitter account with like no following, just randomly threw this out there. Like, where's this all coming from and all that? So that's the stuff the league has to go through and all this, because the last thing they want to do is, act rashly on a player who, maybe didn't do anything wrong. And I get it now, because we were questioning about this on the live show, and it was fair questioning, was the Kevin Porter Jr. Situation. Seems like it's taken a little bit of a different turn, where maybe what he was accused of doing didn't happen and all that. But that's, the story has changed there. So it's a little harder to, track and follow exactly what's going on with that. And I would hope, if it turns out Kevin Porter didn't do the things that looked like he initially did, that some team would say, all right, hey, let's get you back in the league then, and let's, keep moving, if that's what it turns out to be.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that you'll have to wait and see and find out, exactly what happened for sure. Once all these investigations have to be done and all of that. I know, like, we get into the whole like internet sleuth mode and everything, and like think we can figure everything out. Sometimes it takes like a real investigation to especially when we're talking about stuff like this, to fully ascertain exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Let's get to let's go to this. Jaylen Johnson, wrist injury. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. Man, Keith, this is just the injury show. I know we said it off the top, but still, it feels like it's just one injury after another.
If I told you, I'm going to give you some numbers on Jaylen Johnson. So Jaylen Johnson took, basically, Hawks came in with Saddiq Bey in the starting five to open the year. Jaylen Johnson took that spot very quickly. These are his numbers, and I guarantee these are going to shock you unless you've already seen them. 14.1 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 1.1 steals, 1 block per game. All right, it's only 15 games. 59% shooting from the floor, 42.5% from three, and 76% from the free throw line. He's getting there about 2.5 times a game.
I'll say the shooting numbers aren't sustainable, but still, that's impressive for a 15-game stretch.
Yeah, for a guy who had been kind of he was really a rotation afterthought as a rookie, and then last year kind of got in there a little bit, and then Bay joined the team, and they still had John Collins, and it was just messy for him to find regular minutes. He'd really claimed that starting 4 spot, was really, really playing well. He, in my opinion, has zoomed past DeAndre Hunter and definitely past Sadiq Bey in terms of who's the Hawks forward that I want long term of that group. So yeah, it's just a bummer that he's out. And what happened was he stole the ball from Kyle Kuzma, and Kyle Kuzma gave a very hard foul. And fortunately it's his non-shooting hand. But this is 4 to 6 weeks. I want to say I think Shams reported initially as nothing broken, but then I think the Hawks reported as like a non-displaced fracture or something like that. But he's out, for a while. We won't see him until into the new year.
Yeah. Unfortunately, again, like you said, a guy who was quickly earning his spot in that rotation, a guy that became indispensable, and now he's out. But let's go from one player who probably did break something, initially didn't sound like he did, but to a guy who didn't. Luka did not break his hand. Thank goodness. Because, man, Keith, if that happened, we would just throw the hands. You've seen the gifs of the guy that just throws all his papers in the air or whatever. Like that's what we'd be doing.
I like the panda one where like there's, for whatever reason, there's a panda in an office and then it like destroys the computer and like smashes everything up. I have no idea what that's from. Someone in the comments I'm sure can tell us, but that one always makes me laugh when it pops up. Luka again on another steal. He swiped the ball away from James Harden of all people in a game where the Clippers just really handled the Mavs with relative ease. And then he continued to play, but then after the game, he had a very heavy wrap on his left hand. So we'll see. He says nothing was broken. So we'll see, what comes of that. Again, they're not playing tonight. They play again tomorrow, I believe. Yep, they have their final in-season tournament game tomorrow as well against the Houston Rockets. So we'll see. And the Rockets still have a chance to advance in this thing, which is kind of fun. And I think Dallas has been eliminated. So we'll see what that looks like.
All right. Last thing we've got, Marcus Smart, who is still out with that ankle injury. He went off on the Grizzlies. Anthony Edwards had some comments after the game about how the Grizzlies arena was just kind of dead and he had never seen it like that before. Well, I mean, that's kind of what happens when you deal with what the Grizzlies are dealing with, which is tons and tons of injuries. They're 3-13 on the season, which is good for next to last on the Western Conference. They're tied in the win column with the San Antonio Spurs. This is the incredibly injured team. They've lost 4 in a row now. And Marcus Smart, a guy coming from the Celtics who had a winning season last year, this can't feel great. You've got 16 games in and you've only won 3 times.
Yeah, and what happened here, this was interesting because this is this day and age, right? Everybody's got a phone at the games and a handful of different angles. Molly Morrison, who did, I don't think she covers the Grizzlies directly anymore. I think now she works in social media for Bleacher Report, but she really did a great job covering the Grizzlies for years. And I don't know if they're her seats or she just happened to be sitting, but she was like right close to the bench. She's the one I saw first put something up, and then there were a couple other people posted clips. This was during a timeout in the fourth quarter. They were getting beat pretty handily by the Timberwolves, and Marcus Smart basically went off on the guys, telling them, "This is embarrassing. Like, you're not playing hard." Like, and he really kind of ripped into everybody with like, "Hey, people paid a lot of money to come here and watch us play. Like, you owe them effort at least." And knowing Marcus Smart and having covered him for years, it's not that they were losing the game or even losing by a lot. It was probably that lack of effort. That guys are just kind of going through the motions. And what's sad about that is there's a lot of young guys that are kind of fighting for their place in the NBA. That shouldn't be an issue. They should be going 100% from tip to buzzer every single game because you're trying to make your way in the league. If this was just, hey, we're a veteran-laden team, and it was, third game in 4 nights, second night of a back-to-back, and we just don't have it. Every team has those games every year, and they just kind of mail it in and call it good. But these guys need to be, they should be playing harder and battling and trying to get these wins. So I get where he's coming from this. And this is a guy who, other than really 1 year of his career, he's known nothing but being in relative contention. For most of his career, they've been in the conference finals or in one NBA finals. So it's ugly in Memphis. And like you said there, the only thing keeping them out of last is the Spurs can't win. Do you know the game? I went to that Wembanyama game in Phoenix at the beginning of the month. That's the last game the Spurs won. They haven't won since then.
They are 12 losses in a row for the San Antonio Spurs. They are either, you could say they're not a good basketball team, or they're a very, very good tanking team.
It's
next level.
I think they're just bad.
No, I agree.
Because it's funny. I actually tweeted this morning. The Wizards they've lost 9 games in a row, and that's only the third longest losing streak because the Spurs have lost 12 and the Pistons have lost 13. Wizards Pistons tonight, baby. Everybody tuned into that barn burner. That'll be a must-watch game, I'm sure. It actually probably be really entertaining because
you got 2 evenly matched teams. Yeah. Somebody has to win, Keith.
Somebody has to. That's it. They'll play all the way until somebody does. So maybe we'll get
begrudgingly someone will win.
Yeah, that's it. So we'll see. But it's just I mean, those 3 teams are, you hate to say this before you even hit December, but good job, good effort. Your seasons are over. At least with Memphis, you have the idea of maybe Ja Morant can come back and spark something kind of major run for this team. And that's not to say the Pistons and the Spurs, because they've got a ton of young guys, they can still get a lot out of this season, just development wise and really figuring out what do we have. The Wizards, I don't know, man. They play a lot of veteran guys who are in year 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the league. I'm not sure where that thing's going, but I'm willing to see it through because this was year 1 of, hey, we're finally doing it, right? We're not hanging around the middle. We're tearing it apart and going. So I'm not going to criticize them too much for doing the thing we said they should have probably done a couple of years ago.
Well, I mean, we can and look, I don't want to, kick them while they're down or anything, but this is why you needed to part with Bradley Beal a while ago, and ideally before you gave him a no trade clause, so that you're not in this situation where, hey, we're going into a rebuild and where are the assets? You should have got a bunch of assets from Bradley Beal and you didn't, because that no trade. All right. Well, on that positive note, sunny note there. Lots of injuries that we had to deal with today. Lots of just different things that we had to get into. So not every show.
I'll send a note and ask them to turn the injuries off.
That's right. We need to turn off injuries. And then hopefully tomorrow, Keith, we get to do like a fun update on the in-season tournament and things like that. And we don't have to talk so much about injuries. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, for tomorrow.
Yeah, we counted it up roughly. What was it? 18 teams are still alive now. Some of them are a little more alive. What is the Princess Bride? They're only mostly dead. Some of these teams. But some are mostly alive. So we'll see. So we'll see what that kind of looks like. And so we're gonna cover. Probably not in super deep detail because there's a lot of, this team needs to score 48 points or win by 48 points and those kind of things. But we'll basically give a rundown on who can win the groups, who can qualify as wild cards. And then when we come back Wednesday, we'll talk about, all right, here's who qualified through to the knockout rounds. And this is what those quarterfinal matchups look like and the like.
Absolutely. That's what's coming up on tomorrow's show. So make sure you do subscribe here to the NBA Front Office Show on YouTube, the podcast feed over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you listen to podcasts. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.